Welcome back, dear friends, to I.A.S. Mind Maps, the only YouTube channel focused over improving the answer writing skills of the aspirants for the UPSC Civil Services Mains Examination. And the topic for today's discussion is Modern India or Indian Freedom Struggle or Modern History of India. One might say any of the above three. And the most probable questions which can be asked in this year mains examination, which is going to start from 28th October, along with the answer skeletons of some of the questions. So before beginning with the probable questions and the answer skeletons, let me tell you that modern India or Indian freedom struggle is of very crucial importance for UPSC aspirants, as around 5 to 6 questions in GS paper 1, each carrying 12.5 marks, come from this section. So around 50 to 60 marks questions are from this section. So it makes the section very, very important. Besides, this section is scoring in nature. So one has to study the section in a very careful way, and one can score very high marks which will yield multiple dividends in the final results. And lastly, the most crucial aspect is the questions from this section are not coming straight from the books. Instead, the questions are thought based. They are checking, the UPSC is checking in fact the thought process of the aspirants, whether the aspirants are able to link the incidents in Indian freedom struggle or not, whether the aspirants have a concluded about the Indian freedom struggle or not, whether the aspirants, they have conceptually read the Indian freedom struggle or they have memorized the freedom struggle. You can see a very, very intelligent section, and it clearly demarcates aspirants who are having a good thought process from the aspirants who are just mugging up the facts. So let us have a look over the most probable 6 questions which can be asked in this year mains from this section. The first question which can be asked is, discuss the contribution of youth to the cause of Indian freedom struggle. 12.5 marks, 200 words. So the word youth is very, very crucial out here. What do you understand by youth? So we'll come back to this, the answer skeleton of this question. But before that, let's have a look over the other questions which can be asked from modern India. The second crucial question which can be asked from modern India is, the rise of Mahatma Gandhi in the Indian freedom struggle can be attributed as much to the prevailing circumstances as to his charismatic personality. Elucidate. Now this word elucidate means prove. That means you can't deviate from the statement. This is a statement based question, and this question is saying Mahatma Gandhi rose in the Indian freedom struggle. It was because of two things. He had a charismatic personality. Charismatic personality means a unique personality having good personality traits, leadership traits, as well as his rise in the freedom struggle also occurred because of the prevailing circumstances at that time. So we are going to have a look over the answer skeleton of this very good scientific question. So, but before that, again, let's have a look over the rest of the questions which can be asked. So, the third question which can be asked from Indian freedom struggle is, the communal award proved to be the last nail in the coffin of Indian unity. Discuss. 12.5 marks, 200 words. Now, let me tell you, communal award was, it was not an award, it was in fact a declaration given by the British government, in which separate electorates were given on caste basis for the Hindu community as well. So separate electorates, in fact, the concept was initiated by the British government just to break the Indian unity. So even this question is a very crucial probable question. And have a look, there are various crucial phrases in the question. Proved, last nail, coffin of Indian unity. So one has to explain which was the first nail. in the coffin of Indian unity. That means one has to explain right from the divide and rule policy of the British. One has to explain the 1909 Morley-Minto reforms. One has to explain Montagu-Chelmsford reforms 1919. And lastly, one has to explain communal award in detail. Next, another question which is crucial is to err is human. To err is human. To err means making mistakes. Is a human instinct. Does the statement apply to Gandhiji? Now, a very good, intelligent question. So, has Gandhiji made mistakes? In fact, the question is asking. Or was it that Gandhiji didn't make any mistakes in the freedom fight? So one has to accept, yes, Gandhiji made some mistakes. And we have to give reasons to support the answer. That means we have to provide instances when Gandhiji made mistakes in the freedom struggle. His decisions were not correct as according to the prevailing circumstances. Another question which can be asked from the Indian freedom struggle is the story of administrative reforms in British India. It has to be British India. Has been a story of concessions rather than reforms. Comment. So comment word gives you a scope. That means you can go with the statement, you can go against the statement, but you have to prove your viewpoint. You have to give reasons. So the story of administrative reforms, it is asking about the aspirant must have a good, you can say, a good grasp over the various Government of India acts passed from 1858, 1861, 1892, 1909, 1919, 1935. One has to have a grasp over these acts, and one has to explain that were they concessions rather than reforms. Concessions means very meager sort of reforms. That means it was just to pacify the Indians. They were not in fact reforms. So even this question is crucial for this year. And the last question which can be asked from modern India this year is, which two crucial incidences proved to be a confidence booster to the Indian freedom fighters to continue their struggle with renewed zeal? Crucial incidences. Yeah, crucial instances. I can say it's a very, very intelligent question, and instances or incidences are very much subjective. But mind it, answer has to be from such a perspective that you should not glorify a particular personality in these instances or incidences. Glorify the instance rather than a personality. So we will have a discussion over the last 4 questions in the next video. But for today, we are going to have a discussion over the first 2 questions. Detailed discussion along with the answer skeleton. So let us have a look over the first question which can be asked in this year UPSC Civil Services Mains Examination. The question is, discuss the contribution of youth to the cause of Indian freedom struggle. Now any answer, as one can see, it consists of introduction, body and conclusion. So introduction, one has to write the freedom struggle was carried out by all the 3 generations and everyone participated with equal fervor. And amongst them, youth were very crucial. So youth word has to be defined from one's perspective, whether youth means only youth in terms of age or youth also means youth in terms of mental concepts, mental thought process. So I can say Gandhiji was also a youth because Gandhiji had a proactive approach towards the freedom struggle. He used to give innovations, creativity to the freedom struggle. He gave some new principles. So one has to define youth. Youth doesn't only mean age wise, youth also means, youth doesn't mean only physical age wise. It also means youth by mental status, thought process, concepts. So, and next in the body we can discuss the contribution of youth in 2 perspectives, direct and indirect. Now anyone, any section of population, if it contributes in the freedom struggle, it has to be direct, and that section also contributes in an indirect way. So let us have a look, direct way, direct contribution of the youth. So first, direct contribution. Direct means youth participated directly in some movements and gave some ideologies directly. So let us have a look first, ideology based contribution. Ideology means concept based contribution, thought process based contribution. So the youth gave the very famous revolutionary ideology, and one can write examples of Shahid Bhagat Singh or Chandrasekhar Azad. Youth also gave communist and socialist ideology in India. Youth also gave extremist ideology in India. And youth also brought about socio-cultural reform, as was the Young Bengal movement. One can give examples here. As far as the movement-based contribution is concerned, the youth directly participated in the Swadeshi movement in 1905, also participated in Home Rule League movement with equal fervor, and also in all the Gandhian movements, be it non-cooperation, civil disobedience, or Quit India movement. The participation of youth cannot be overlooked. Apart from this, the very famous Subhash Chandra Bose and his Azad Hind Fauj, who can just forget his contribution? And besides this, one can mention Gadar Rebellion Party or Chittagong Armory Raid separately out there. Indirectly, the youth gave support to the leaders in front. The leaders were the old age people. Secondly, the youth also followed Gandhian ideology and helped Gandhiji to get popularized amongst the masses. Third, the youth was very instrumental in spreading Congress in the rural areas. Fourth, the youth motivated the family persons also, because seeing the family youth participating, the other family members also came forward to participate in the freedom struggle. And some of the youth served as role models. Shahid Bhagat Singh, even today, he is a role model. So one can explain direct and indirect contribution of youth. And the conclusion can be that youth doesn't mean youth only by physical status or by age. It also means youth in thoughts and concepts. In short, one may say that all of the freedom fighters were young at heart and mind and didn't accept defeat, which kept the flame of freedom burning inside every heart. And that led to India getting freedom in a very short duration time. Because if we compare the other countries and their independence movements, India got freedom in a very short duration. The second crucial question which can be asked is the rise of Mahatma Gandhi in the Indian freedom struggle can be attributed as much to the prevailing circumstances as to his charismatic personality. Elucidate means prove it. So the introduction of and the answer of such a question, the introduction will be, who is a leader? So a leader must have some charismatic personality traits. That means a unique traits which are not found in the normal people. So one can explain the traits of a leader: having principles in one's life. Second, motivating the youth, motivating the common masses. Third, identifying oneself with the common people. So one can explain some traits out here. And in the introduction itself, we have to mention the circumstances or the features of Indian freedom struggle in the pre-Gandhian phase, that is before the arrival of Gandhiji. So circumstances prevailing in the pre-Gandhian period, the circumstances were: first, absence of a national leader. So no one in India was a national leader. National leader means one who commands the confidence of all the people till the arrival of Gandhiji. Second, absence of a leader who identifies himself with the common masses. So no leader before Gandhiji identified oneself with the common masses. There was a clear cut, you can say, gap between the leaders and the people. Third, absence of a secular and principle-based leader. Secular. Now Gandhiji focused over Hindu-Muslim unity, one of the first leaders to do so. And before Gandhiji, the leaders either promoted one's own religion or were antagonistic to some other religions. The fourth crucial point, the circumstances prevailing at that period, was absence of principles in the movement. So there were no principles to say so, and Gandhiji brought about some principles. Example, ahimsa. Example, satyagraha. Example, non-cooperation. Example, civil disobedience. Example, constructive programs. Example, Hindu-Muslim unity. Example, charkha. Example, Swadeshi. Fifth, another crucial circumstance was absence of rural reach or participation in the All India Congress. And Gandhiji, the arrival of Gandhiji, after the arrival, the Congress became an organization with a massive crucial reach, rural reach. Apart from this, the sixth crucial circumstance was absence of experienced leader. So Gandhiji was having experience from South Africa. The body of the answer will consist of Gandhiji and his personality traits. And let us have a look at his personality traits. First, he was a leader of national stature in South Africa. Second, he identified oneself with common masses by wearing Swadeshi Charkha made cloth. Third, he was secular and promoted Hindu-Muslim unity. Fourth, he promoted the principles of non-violence, satyagraha, constructive programs in the movement. Besides, he promoted Swadeshi Charkha, which spread Congress towards the rural areas. And sixth, he had the much needed experience of leading non-cooperation civil disobedience movements in South Africa. And just have a look over how have I approached the answer. The first personality trait of Gandhiji is filling up the first gap of Indian freedom struggle before the arrival of Gandhiji. So he was a leader of national stature in South Africa, and India at that time was in need of a national leader. Second point, he identified oneself with common masses. Until then, India had no leader who identified himself with the common masses. Third, he was secular, and at that time in India there was absence of a secular leader. Fourth, the fourth crucial circumstance was the principles were absent in the movement, and Gandhiji promoted the principles of non-violence, satyagraha, constructive programs in the movement. So you are just seeing what am I doing? I am just filling up the gap or filling up circumstance prevailing at that time with one of the Gandhian traits. In short, I am linking each of his traits with one of the circumstances prevailing at that time. In fact, I have proven that yes, Gandhiji filled up the gap very beautifully. That means circumstances were having a gap, and the traits of Gandhiji filled up the gap of a leader, or filled up the gap prevailing at that time. So this is a very, very scientific question, and you have to write in this way only. And in conclusion, we can say, in short, one can say the rise of Gandhiji in the Indian freedom struggle can be attributed both to his charismatic personality as to the prevailing circumstances. So I have proven this via these two flowcharts. In fact, he was the first person to be a direct freedom fighter as well as a direct social reformer. So I have ended the answer with a crucial value addition. So that was all for today. I hope you liked the video, and we have discussed two of the most probable questions of modern India today, and we are going to discuss the rest of the questions in the next video, which will be uploaded in the coming couple of days. Thanks a lot for listening to us and for listening to the video. Good night.